as good as that looks, I don't feel like watching the whole thing right now. I don't want to hear "Cry to the Moon." I'm currently working on an original show intro, so screw it. I got other things to do today. So, welcome to Generation X-Men. It is I, your host, J.Ishiro, author and alien in a human suit, and the writer of many fine graphic novels and non-fiction novels about pop culture. Link in the description. But we're doing something special today. We're doing something special. I wanted to talk about Psylocke, but something more immediate came up. But before I talk about that more immediate need, let's introduce the two other people hosting this show.
I'm Janelle. I'm currently irritated. That's all.
This is your Kronk. I am currently so excited to get entertained by some volcanic nuclear rants from our dear friend Janelle.
I'm going to try and keep it on the DL. I need to keep my heart rate down today because I have tournament practice at 7 o'clock. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so this Vanilla Ice impersonator here didn't like what we had to say about Jonathan Hickman's work. Guess our middle-aged angst was just a little too spicy for shaved brown ice here.
Wolf, I'm okay. This guy has set off my... Motherfucker, do you take tips from Nikki Makeup? Because them eyebrows are shit. Yeah, I'm going to go after you. I'm sorry. Okay, fuck you. What Hickman did, he doesn't know shit about the X-Men.
Not yet. We're getting to it yet. We're getting to it because this is going to be a special show, okay? I was going to save the gag to the end of the show, but since you guys are so mad, maybe this will lighten the mood. The reason I say Vanilla Ice is pissed off at us is come on. It's not just me. You guys see it, right?
Yes.
You guys see it as well as I do, right? Wait. Maybe we should go a little further here.
It kind of looks like Vanilla Ice should have pulled out when he was in Puerto Rico. Or worn a condom or something. Dad, is that you?
So yeah,
part
apparently
of me thinks this is a bot. That this is some just dumbass bot. I'm not joking because the guy looks like a friggin' caricature of fandom today. Including that dumbass hat he's wearing.
Yeah. Well, clearly it was ran through a filter. I mean, this guy obviously filtered his face to look like Vanilla Ice, I guess. Or, Kronk might be right. Maybe Vanilla Ice went on tour and banged a Puerto Rican girl, one of the groupies, and she regretted it for the rest of her life.
Exactly. She looks at him and she's like, "No, put the hat back on."
I mean, that is the same expression that he always would do in that what was that movie? Cool as Ice. Or whatever. Yeah. But anyway, that's why I said we've upset Vanilla Ice, or at least the illegitimate son of Vanilla Ice.
Okay, actually, I'm going to backtrack. I'm not going to attack looks. Okay.
No, we don't need to attack looks.
Yeah, just the eyebrows do actually fucking bother me, though. Like, that is something I'd see on, like, Nikki tutorials or, like, Michaela J makeup. I can't stand that. Like, no, and I don't know if that's the filter or what. So, number one.
Wait. No,
you gotta let me
go. We're going to do this.
I'm gonna be the big geeky crybaby this little bitch wants me to be. So hey.
No. In honor of Chocolate Ice here, I thought it would be only fit if his complaint, his comment, was read by the most annoying voice in the world. So we have a guest reader tonight. We're going to have little Ben Shapiro, man with the most annoying voice in the entire world, read to us this bitchy little whiny.
See, I thought you got Tim Pool. See, so I guessed wrong who was going to read it.
So let's get started here. Okay, Ben, you can start now.
Like, I have read every X-Men comic since '63, and I won't say they haven't had a few misses throughout the years, but you all sound like three big geeky crybabies.
Wow, that
was great.
So I don't know, any comments to that really stunning insight there?
We sound like three big geeky crybabies.
I'll take the big part. Who wants geeky and who wants crybaby?
I wear geeky as a badge, bitch.
Bitch.
All I'm going to say is I'm not wearing that stupid hat, so I really don't. I wouldn't be judging.
Yeah,
those big womanly lips. Anyway, so okay, Ben's going to continue reading for us.
Say what you want to say, but Krakoa revitalized and reinvigorated the X-Men franchise in a major way, bringing them back to the forefront of Marvel in popularity and sales.
Well, I got some opinions on that one, because you see, back when the books you say sucked, the books that you don't like, Felix Ice. You see, here's the thing. Let's talk about popularity and sales. In 1991, in October, X-Men sold 8.2 million copies monthly. When Hickman left the run in October 2021, they were selling 69,000 copies. You know what, dude? You can go live in your fantasy, but the book you're worshiping sucks dick.
The interesting part is he's still right, because Legends can be terrible too. It can be a really bad tale of the past that we all need to learn a lesson from.
Are you talking about Claremont's Legends?
Oh no, I mean where he says what Hickman did is a legend, or is legendary.
What Hickman did was kill the fucking franchise and then let everybody else play with its carcass.
Well, I mean, look, I'll say this. I mean, I suppose what Hickman did was legendary in a Rian Johnson turning Luke Skywalker into a blue milk swilling loser hermit sort of way. Yeah, it was legendary.
Absolutely.
By the way, I'm going to be eating so everybody can have some ASMR. Because I'm not going to be polite about this one. Like, I am trying so hard to not go down the elementary school path that I am notorious for and go to name calling. But fuck me, do I want to go to name calling?
Well, it's the womanly face filter he's using, man. And there is a filter on that face.
Not only is it the filter, he's pretentious as fuck. Look at him.
Maybe it's the filter, maybe it's Maybelline.
So, but yeah. And I do suppose Hickman will remain legendary as the man who took the X-Men mythos, which at its core had always been about humanity looking beyond physical and cultural differences and learning to live together, and having Hickman come in and molest that and warp it into some sort of weird metaphor for racial supremacy. I mean,
because having a fucking fashion show gala is peak X-Men. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like who was it? Somebody called him Ice Pecan or
Butter Pecan. Yeah.
Butter Pecan Ice there. Yeah. And, another thing, he will definitely remain legendary for taking some of the best and most loved characters in the modern mythology we call comics and utterly betraying everything those characters stood for. I mean, sure. But, not everyone can be such a piece of shit as to take a series that at its heart was a morality tale and vandalizing it into a debaucherous, hedonistic celebration of sadism, sex, violence, and molestation. I mean, look, Woman Lips here obviously likes that kind of thing.
The only thing he's missing is the duck lips thing for his little picture here. That'd be perfect.
Well, it looks like he's tucking in his cheeks for the high cheekbones.
He's all
go for it, Janelle. Cut loose, okay? We're only in the first 10 minutes here.
Well, okay. Hickman's run was debauchery central. I went off last week about people having sex and abandoning their babies. That a prostitute or a former prostitute had a brothel that also on the side had an orphanage, because that is peak awesome X-Men. How many X-Men were treated like shit as kids and their parents hated them, or even as babies? Hint, hint, Nightcrawler, that whole retcon for Mystique was bullshit. She threw his ass over a cliff to kill him to save her own life.
Yep.
And even before they retconned it that Mystique was his mother, he was still thrown over a cliff and abandoned. And he was picked up by Roma. I'm not talking about Roma, the god. I'm talking about the band, wandering.
The gypsies.
I try not to say that word because it can get Ishi in trouble because it's considered racist.
Gypsy,
So
gypsy,
the
gypsy?
Roma, the wandering Roma.
Okay, well, you know what? Then you guys can't call any Irish people mix anymore or drunks or any of that because, no, fuck it. We're drunks. It's fine. They're gypsies. God bless them. They're right here in Sacramento, right fucking now. Come on over to the house. We can have a talk if there's a problem, kids. They're gypsies. It's cool. Romani.
Mick Jap. There. Hey, are you happy now?
Yes, there you go. Mick Jap.
Okay.
Yes. I'm half Italian, so half Dago, half Wop. I'm a Mick Wop. Sound like a fucking bird.
No, you're someone we shouldn't anger.
We probably have related ancestors because my family is Scottish, Irish, and Italian.
There you go.
So
they came through New York. There's a better than 50% chance, I would say. But
yep. All right.
Okay, look.
Say what you want to say, but Krakoa revitalized and reinvigorated the X-Men franchise in a major way, bringing them back to the forefront of Marvel in popularity and sales. What Jonathan Hickman did is legendary.
Yeah, so legendary that it's the same 100 people sucking his dick on the X-Men subreddit.
Well, this guy does kind of have those sort of lips, doesn't he?
Oh. He's got DSL.
Yeah. What Jonathan Hickman did is legendary.
All right.
Sing it, Shapiro.
Jonathan Hickman, his first big mistake was turning Moira Mctaggert into a mutant. He obviously did not understand who Moira Mctaggert was and what she represented to the X-Men. She was a human ally who was bending over backwards to save mutants and also protect them. Not only that, she had a terribly sad story where her abusive husband raped her, got her pregnant, and she gave birth to one of the scariest mutants out there. And when I say scary, I mean scary. Proteus. He was worse than
like a
Jamie
good example.
Braddock.
Yeah, a good example of why humans should be afraid of mutants.
Yes,
that's how terrifying.
She admits her failings, just like Xavier failed David, his son Legion. Moira failed her son Proteus. I can't remember his real name at the moment. But because of what happened with Proteus, she wanted to dedicate her life to working with mutants and helping them. But she was scared shitless of her child. She adopted Rain Sinclair, who had also been abused by her father. She took in Multiple Man. When the Legacy virus broke out, she was the one studying her ass off to the point of severe exhaustion because she wanted to save mutants. Okay. She wasn't a mutant. She was a mutant ally. I guess if we want to use the current day vernacular, she was a mutant ally. That was what was
she was
so
a
amazing
decent
about
person who saw fellow human beings. That's what she was.
Yes.
Allies are fucking simps.
Kevin Mctaggert, thank you, Wolf.
That's right.
She not only had a mutant child, she also fell in love with a mutant. And we're talking about Sean Cassidy, like one of the most pimp X-Men out there. Sorry, I love Banshee. He really
Banshee
is.
was great.
He's like the guy I would go out drinking with. I'd go bar hopping with because he would let me drink myself stupid and act a fool, and he could keep me in line and take me home.
And
I don't mean home in a sexual way. I mean he's putting me to bed, putting the covers over me, and let me sleep my pub crawl off, so to speak.
Be drunk enough to be at like a level 10 and still make it home safe with you.
Yes.
Get you home safe is what I'm talking about. That's how drunk he could be, as drunk as possible, and he'd still get you home safe. Cops wouldn't stop you. Nobody would look at you. Yeah. A real man.
Well, here's a good example. I do not know if this was Hickman or the people that came after playing with the X-Men carcass. At one point, Moira got kicked off Krakoa. So she called Banshee because she needed his help. She killed him, skinned him, and wore his skin to get through the gate.
Well, that is certainly innovative and legendary. And I am sure that all 69,000 copies that they're moving right now, it proves it.
I wonder if those were all sold or all just shipped.
Yeah, actually shipped, not
I'm gonna
sold.
say shipped.
And there's piles of toilet paper still on the shelves.
Actually, there are. If you go to a comic store, it's
Yeah.
amazing how many just piles and piles of stuff they're trying to get rid of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, basically, it's not revolutionary or innovative to basically rip the soul out of something that existed and make it the opposite of what it was. So that's just called vandalization and being a complete hack. Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing, though. He turned her into a mutant, and you find out she's lived 9 lives, and now she's on her 10th one. And if she doesn't fix it, Destiny's going to kill her. I could be wrong, Felix. You read it more than me.
Who ripped off?
Groundhog Day. Oh.
So
but not funny.
Yeah, she all of a sudden had lived all these lives. If she had lived all these lives, why the fuck didn't she stop the fall of the mutants? Why didn't she stop Inferno?
Why didn't she stop
from the mutant
Professor
massacre?
X?
Yeah, why didn't she stop the Executioner song, the Extinction Agenda in Genosha? Why didn't she stop all this shit? Why didn't she stop her husband from raping her?
Because she's an asshole, apparently.
You know, why didn't she stop the Shadow King from being able to possess her during the Muir Island saga? Why didn't she stop Xavier from being crippled? I mean, seriously, I could go on. Why didn't she stop Magneto from his terrorism? Apparently, in one of her lives, she joined Magneto in his terrorism. In another life, she joined Apocalypse in his terrorism.
Why didn't she stop the Juggernaut from touching the Crimson Gem of Sidorak?
Yeah.
There's a lot of what ifs. There's too much for her to do.
Why didn't she stop Rogue from she could have gone and changed everything in history. She could have stopped Days of Future Past. She could have stopped it all. That would have actually been better. Yeah, characters that we love might not exist anymore, but she would have stopped everything.
Janelle, you don't understand.
What Jonathan Hickman did is legendary.
You got to understand that because, despite all the plot holes and flaws and betrayals of the actual concept, despite the fact that we're kind of looking at the kind of loser who would buy this.
What Jonathan Hickman did is legendary.
You got to understand that, okay?
I mean, if she is so important and she knows all this shit, why didn't she show up when the Phoenix first appeared and said, "That's not Jean. Jean is at the bottom of the ocean healing. That is going to go crazy and kill an entire solar system."
Yeah, that's going to end.
Take it out now.
Well, also, do you remember which side she was on in Age of Apocalypse? You're going to tell me they couldn't figure out she was a mutant somehow? She was on the human side.
She was the head of the Human High Council. I mean, that story's legendary because Emma Frost lobotomized herself.
Yep.
So she would not be a mutant anymore and could be a human.
And hide behind the skirts of humanity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But no, those people, they didn't know she was a mutant. This is the most retarded retcon of all time for the most part.
Yeah.
So should we move on to the last of it, or is there more we have to say about this?
Oh, no, I mean, I could probably go on for hours, but
no, because the cherry on the turd here, okay? The cherry on the turd Sunday is this winner of the line.
Yeah, you all probably want them in a carbon copy of their mansion, based in the Outback, with the 5 original Wahite members. I'm sorry I stumbled on this tasteless video.
Wahite members?
Now, you'd figure
that's
if
a bot.
somebody...
Okay, no, that's a bot.
If you figure this guy has read every comic since '63, he wouldn't make such a basic bitch mistake as to assume that they were living in a mansion in the Outback, much less had the original 5 members.
White members. Because we are so racist that we never sing praises about Storm. Every fucking episode.
No. Let's not even go there. No. I think
my favorite character is blue, for fuck's sake.
No. See, back off. I don't think that's where we need to go with this. Okay, I don't think it really isn't the point here. Is there a problem with liking white characters? That sure does seem to be what Dick Lips there is implying. I mean, I don't know. Geez, is there something wrong with liking a white character? You seem to think so. Why is that, you fucking racist?
Does anybody else want to throw breadcrumbs at their fucking screen right now? Fucking duck lips, motherfucker.
I kind of want to play with his lips and go, oh, what's the baby want to say? Is the baby having a tantrum?
But seriously, one, those 5 original characters, yeah, okay. And you know what? Those 5 original characters are the reason there's the X-Men. Get rid of them, there's no X-Men.
Also, that's who Xavier found closest to his house in upper white area of New York. That's why they're white, stupid.
But one, the X-Men did not have a mansion in the Outback. They lived in a ghost town, which had the Reavers' hideout under it, which is very odd.
It wasn't just a ghost town. It was a decrepit, derelict ghost town.
Yeah.
It was falling the fuck apart.
Do you remember?
So apparently this big genius here who's read everything made a basic bitch mistake.
Oh, very.
But really the thing that sticks with me is the implication that somehow liking a white character is a problem. If you want to sum up everything that's wrong with Marvel's current audience and readership, I think it is this. Come on.
Yeah, you all probably want them in a carbon copy of their mansion, based in the Outback, with the 5 original Hype members. I'm sorry I stumbled on this tasteless video.
That is exactly what's wrong with both Marvel and its current readership. They're morons. They're morons and they're racist.
I must be problematic because my 3 favorite characters are white.
Oh, that's so terrible. So what are your 3 favorites?
Wait, one of them culturally appropriated Japanese people and became Japanese.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but is it
like
cultural appropriation if a Japanese wizard and a Chinese wizard and some Japanese genetic engineers do it to you without your permission?
Ooh.
Oh,
The deeper question right there.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I mean, if the Japanese made you Japanese, I mean, it's really racist now. It's like Schrodinger's racist.
Look, what the guy, what this, whatever the guy wrote, either this person is a bot, an idiot, or a troll, or maybe all 3. I don't know, but
I don't know. That hat tells me he's a real fan.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Janelle. I gotta argue it. That hat says it all. He knows more than us. He's a super fan, whereas we're criticizing things that have been shit on that we love. I gotta side with brown ice here. Chocolate ice. Caramel ice? There you go. Caramel ice.
Caramel ice.
It's almost
I own 2 pieces of X-Men clothing. One of them is a jacket with the Art Adams 1970s X-Men on it, and one is a Gambit t-shirt with Jim Lee Gambit.
Nice.
That's it. And I'm a hardcore X-Men fan. I do not have a Psylocke t-shirt. Oh no, I take that back. I have a Dazzler tank top too that I wear to practice.
Oh, cool.
I guess I'm not a real fan. I don't have any shirts.
I was never able to get one, so I mean I had a poster or 2. That was it. So this guy.
Or as Ironcast Knight puts it, it's possible to change your sex. It's one of the most fundamental features that divides humanity, but utterly impossible to make your eyes a little more slanty and like rice.
Oh shit.
Psylocke was wrong. She was G-raped. Changed against her own desires.
Oh God, no! That whole rant, that guy. I mean, seriously.
My 2 favorite characters are blue. Shut up.
He's blue and furry, and
both of them are.
Oh yeah. Well, and one literally looks like an animal. The other one looks like a demon. Yeah. I just really. I mean, this is his complaint is so superficial, and let's keep going on the Hickman run.
Yeah.
Because from what I have done my research on, Hickman was aiming to have Cypher and Warlock be the villains. Cypher and Warlock, really? Really? Okay, and having the whole, like, everybody's in a polycule and, like, sleeping with each other, having the open relationship between Jean, Scott, and Logan and Emma, if that wasn't gross.
Yeah.
Really? And Jean Grey's room was in between Logan's and Scott's, so she could pick who she was going to be fucking that night.
Wait. So it was more like an episode of Jersey Shore.
Yes.
That's what the kids liked today. Apparently, that makes it current and modern.
Yep.
Hickman's run allowed for Jerry Dugan to do that abomination X-Men Green. And I want to know how it's legendary that he was aiming. Now, I don't know if this was, some people are saying this is what he was aiming for. And if this is what he was aiming for, he did not deliver it well at all. The X-Men had become everything they were fighting against.
Yes.
That would have been great if he did it correctly, and he did not. Instead, he put modern day politics into the book with characters that, now I'm going to say, before he got to them, characters had already been destroyed by other writers. You know, Ta-Nehisi Coates, Matt Fraction, Chuck Austin. These guys, Brian Michael Bendis, had already ruined characters. And I mean ruined characters. But you know what really brings an X-Men fan in? A friggin' fashion gala. Are you kidding me? Do you think I give a fuck that Rachel is dressed up as a super dominatrix? We already saw that in Excalibur. We didn't need it with the extra 6-inch heels. I didn't need to see them dressed up like they were on Thierry Mugler? I don't know how to pronounce the dude's name. Oscar de la Renta, what the fuck ever. I'm not reading X-Men for their fashion. If I wanted to read X-Men for their fashion, I would dig out the swimsuit issues and look at the hot abs on the guys and the nice tits on the girls. That's the fashion issue I want. I thought it was great when Jean got married that they got Nicole Miller to design the dress. That was cool.
Preach.
But that was it. That was it. Jean Grey's dress was it. Like,
Well,
nobody else got a fashion show.
Look, this is the modern Marvel and the modern audience. And, when it comes to things like story, that's not as important as the fashion show. Don't you understand?
Yeah, because I want to see Dazzler dressed in a sequined disco outfit that looks just like her regular 70s outfit, but black and pink and yellow.
Oh my
And she's sparkly. You know what? No, I don't give a fuck. Honestly, the 70s Dazzler, the outfit is a joke. When she went 1980s Dazzler, when Claremont made her more punk and new wave,
yeah,
that outfit was legendary and it stuck for a long time. They even got rid of the disco flare makeup that she was wearing, or the domino mask that was supposed to be like makeup.
Yeah.
You know why that came back? Because all of a sudden the writers wanted her to be a roller derby queen. And she had the mental illness haircut, and she dressed like a punk rocker from today, and only had one eye done in the disco makeup.
I don't know if you saw Ash versus the Marvel Universe or whatever, when basically they eat the dead, all the heroes become undead and everything.
Yeah, he rescues Dazzler and I think the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, and the artist couldn't, or whoever decided to put her back in that 70s disco costume, it was clearly just to get some cheesecake, because if you look at her now, I mean, like back in the day, she was drawn pretty cheesecake, but like then 80s, 90s, she was like a more realistic frame, somebody very athletic, etc. Not the biggest cans in the universe, but for the Ash episode, they, the books, she had to be like drawn all shulky again, she-hulky,
Yeah, but that was
because they knew they had nothing.
That was an Ash book, so I was not surprised when I saw how everybody, including the zombie females, were cheesecake as fuck. It was great.
Yeah, but they knew they had no story, so they're like, big tits for everybody.
Yeah. Well, the person who drew her in Ash versus the Evil Dead was drawing her like they were drawing a lot of the characters in the early 90s. Do you remember when Gamora wearing her fishnet outfit, all of a sudden the V went past her belly button?
Yes.
Like we're talking right above the pubic bone.
Yes, I'd like to give 25% of the credit for me being heterosexual today to that outfit.
Well, remember Black Cat also was drawn that way. Moon Dragon, dear God, I'm surprised her outfit stayed on.
I figured that was telekinesis.
It's superpowers. Come on.
Hickman, like I said, if Hickman really was trying to make them the bad guys, yes, that probably would have brought me back if it was done well. It was not done well.
Right.
It seemed a jumble. It was confusing. And then I don't know what, something happened at Marvel. I don't know what. There was a shakeup and Hickman announced that he left. And that's when everybody came in and played with the carcass. Like I think Jerry Dugan was one of them. And it just, all of a sudden, it was like, okay, these people are unlikable. Why the fuck isn't the rest of the Marvel Universe going to war with them? Because the X-Men are horrible. It's not even just evil anymore. They are terrible.
Well, there's like an X-army.
People.
There's an X-army. Why didn't the Avenger army go stop them? No conscience?
Honestly, I say in the long run, it was a good thing Dan Slott, without the permission of Hickman, wrote Franklin is no longer a mutant and got him out. In hindsight, that was actually kind of smart. But I mean, Dan Slott didn't do it to be kind or like trying to save the character. He was throwing a fit because, you know, he didn't want one of his characters in an X-Men book. I'm sure Franklin will eventually be retconned back into being a mutant because like they're already retconning Pietro and Wanda into being Magneto's kids again.
They need to. They need to fix all of them, all three. They're mutants. Fuck you, fake Marvel.
But I mean,
no, show's over. Seriously, no, not this show. I mean, Marvel, it's over. Really, I mean, they have shit on everything so badly. They've fucked up everything so badly. Other than a complete hard reboot or disavowal of like the last 15 to 20 years is the only way you could repair this. And I mean, until they do that, the only kind of faggy fuckhead shitheads who are actually going to pay for this is this guy. You know?
Yeah.
Well, Draco Nightmare brings up a good point, and this is why I said if Hickman was going for them being villains, he could have done it, but he did it poorly. I remember this issue. Dr. Doom, like all of the rest of the superheroes were invited to Krakoa. I think it was during the Hellfire Gala fashion event, and they were basically told, we now rule the solar system. We are in charge. You guys are beneath us. Dr. Doom approached Captain America and Reed Richards and said, yo, we need an alliance. This is not good. When you've got Cap, Reed, and Dr. Doom all saying, yeah, this is bad, then it's bad. But it's like he just couldn't fucking do it. And it would have been, honestly, I will give him this credit. If it would have been done well, it would have been epic because they all would have become everything they hated, and they were going to find out that they were the ones that caused Days of Future Past.
Yeah,
how
like
much
they
of
took
a
it too far.
how much of morality blow would that have been to all of them to realize the reason they are all now being chased down by Sentinels, killed, or put in internment camps is because they got too arrogant. That would have been fantastic.
Yeah, but and if our favorites all had like a wake-up call and tried to stop the other mutants.
Well, the question remains, the path getting there.
Yeah, and he fucked the path. I'm sorry, I mean, he did it wrong.
I will not read it. You guys have looked at it. You've read it, Janelle, and it's just like, I don't buy it. I don't buy it in the least. It doesn't work. It's shitty writing.
No, it is. Like I said, the idea was sound, but the execution fell. It went down like a lead balloon. It went down wrong. Nobody. Okay, I hardly know of any X-Men fans out there that want to read about fashion. They were so into this when they were doing it. They made 3 different outfits for Emma Frost to change into during the Hellfire Gala arc. This is the
You said
first
you don't
one.
know anyone who wants to read about fashion. You forgot about Vanilla Ice's illegitimate child. He does.
Okay.
Yeah. He sprayed and prayed, so there's one customer right
there. There is somebody who would prefer fashion galas over story.
I mean, they also, this is something else. You took all of the villains, the scary villains, and you made them pussies. Okay? You took Apocalypse and made him nice? No, wait, there should have been a civil war on that island immediately.
At least a 3-way war.
Yeah, there should have been Apocalypse. Okay, then you have Mr. Sinister who kept cloning himself till he was a mutant and got in arguments with Exodus about whose fringe and pauldrons and cape were bigger. Are you kidding me? The Mr.
Seriously?
Sinister the Mr. Sinister I remember would have been trying to kill or capture Exodus to get his genetic material.
They were arguing over cape style.
Yes.
Exodus, who fought in the motherfucking Crusades.
You know what, guys? I gotta say it. I just when you've got those characters arguing over cape size.
What Jonathan Hickman did is legendary.
Yeah, Jonathan Hickman, Kronk's got a good point. Exodus was a French man who fought in the Crusades and was a hardcore Catholic. Okay.
He's not a time traveler. He was alive back then, you fuckface Hickman.
He was an external. I liked when they brought up the idea that there were mutants that part of their mutant power meant they lived forever. And surprisingly, the majority of them were villains, which made them even more scary because they were
massively powerful.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I don't know if they ever said it or not. I was surprised that Selena wasn't.
I'm still kind of taken aback by the whole idea that Apocalypse was welcomed onto the island. I mean, what kind of conversation do you think he had with Cyclops? Hey, you remember when I turned you into a hound and put a collar on you? Wasn't that awesome?
Remember when me and my buddies used to beat you up in the bathroom and terrorize you? Wasn't that cool?
Hey, no, it wasn't just Cyclops. Hey, Angel, remember when I rewrote your entire DNA and made you insane and turned you into a killer and tried to make you the epitome of death?
Yeah. And I sicked you on New York with 3 friends. Yeah. Remember that?
That's all in the past.
Good times. Right? Good times. Can I borrow a cup of sugar?
Yeah. I mean, okay. So, and then you also take Nanny and Orphan Maker. Nanny is another scary villain that I'm sad Claremont didn't get to spend more time with. She killed parents to take their children and turn them into an army because she thought she would be better at raising them. That is nightmarish because she actually killed parents in front of children before kidnapping them and then turned them into psychotic child soldiers. She
actually pretty relevant
Storm
right now.
into a child, and Storm wasn't fucking beating her ass down.
Yeah.
So the one caveat they did is they let Sabretooth on the island and immediately imprisoned him because he's too bad for the island. So you're going to imprison Sabretooth, but you're not going to put Apocalypse and Sinister in the pit as well.
Yeah, the genetic the guys who've personally called out genocides, against humans and other mutants.
Yeah.
But Sabretooth's the bad guy.
And this whole thing, look, we all know that Xavier is an asshole, but back in the day, his heart really was in the right place.
Right.
It really was. He is like full-blown irredeemable villain now. Really? Oh, I think the Shadow King was also on Krakoa. The Shadow King, the guy who has mind raped how many characters in the X-Men for funsies?
Farouk.
Yeah. I mean,
is
look
Jean
what he
still
did
around?
to Karma.
Where's Jean in all this?
She's in between. She's the Chinese finger puzzle in between Wolverine and Cyclops.
Apparently, she's a god again. They
Her
went back
trap.
and reverted her to the Phoenix of the White Crown.
Okay, well, yeah,
and
every mutant's a god.
She's totally fine with Scott fucking the one who raped her.
Scott raped her?
No. White Queen raped her. Mentally.
Oh.
Remember?
Because that's the thing that could happen. Sure.
Grant Morrison, in his hatred for Jean, had Jean mind rape Emma Frost back, thinking it was going to be a big win. And instead, everybody was like, bitch got what she deserved. She did it first.
Yeah. If you saw Emma, okay, if you're an old fan, you understand the characters, and you saw Emma Frost in real life and she got hit by a car, you wouldn't rush over to help her. You'd be like, she had it coming.
Yeah.
No, I honestly, yeah, I really would be like, yeah, no, sorry.
My conscience would make me do this. Oh, somebody help her. Won't someone help her? Oh,
White Queen was truly a vile character when first introduced. And disturbing.
Yeah, no, she was what Xavier did not want to be and had worked his ass off not to be. She had no inhibitions and loved invading people's minds. She was the exact opposite of him.
Yeah, that's how she made her money. She didn't come from old money. She made her money the old-fashioned way. She stole it.
I think they retconned that and said that her family was new money, but new money in the sense that they're old money for America. And that she had siblings and that she was actually an ugly brunette. Yeah, your guys are going to love this. So this retcon. Emma was an ugly brunette, was a middle child. Her family was cruel to her. I guess she had the company stolen from her. So she started dyeing her hair platinum blonde and had a bunch of plastic surgery so she could look hot.
Why not just create a new character at that point?
Yeah.
Seriously. If you're going to change the character that much, why not do something original? Why not actually create something of your own?
I mean, they
it's not like it's not like in the past, people came up with their own villains. How many villains did Claremont create?
So many.
So yeah, like a shit ton. He did have villains already ready and available for him, but the villains that he had that came later, like Sinister, like Mojo, like Nanny and the Orphan Maker. I mean, Shadow King already existed, but he made Shadow King much more scary.
Yep.
Apocalypse came
Proteus.
about. Proteus, Jesus.
Yeah, Proteus.
I don't remember. I think Claremont created Legion. Legion came.
I think
from
he
Claremont.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. Who else? Apocalypse. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Apocalypse was originally supposed to be the Spider-Man villain, the Owl, and they didn't want to give it to Louise Simonson. Or no, it wasn't Louise Simonson that originally was writing X Factor. No, it wasn't Vicente either. It was somebody else that they yanked off the book and put the Simonsons on it. Because Walter was drawing it while Louise and Claremont were doing these stories.
Well, I'm glad they didn't choose the Owl, whose only superpower is to glide really slow and usually down. Yeah. Can you imagine him fighting all 5 original X-Men?
Yeah. That would have. I don't know why they wanted to use him. I don't think nobody knew why, but he was morphed into Apocalypse, and that's why when Apocalypse first shows up, you're kind of like, huh? I don't get it, especially if you've read backwards like I have. When I read Apocalypse's first appearance, I'm like, what is this shit? Really?
Oh,
like, he's kind of crappy.
Did you read the way back one? Way back when he set up Moses Magnum to attack Japan, but he's just in the shadows the whole time?
Wait, which one was this?
Well, I read it in Classic X-Men, so I don't know what number it was, but yeah, Apocalypse empowered Moses Magnum and then kind of paid him or threatened him or whatever to attack Japan. He was going to use his vibration or earth tremor powers or whatever the hell to drop Japan in the ocean, and that's when Banshee burned his vocal cords out to save Japan. Lost his powers for like 20 years.
I don't remember that one.
Oh yeah, they only show Apocalypse in the shadows, and he doesn't look at all like what he looks like later. But yeah, he created
so this
Moses
is when
Magnum.
he first shows up, and all you see is his red eyes.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
like
okay, no, it's been a while, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Back in the 80s for sure, when Banshee and Sunfire were both still on the team.
Yeah, I do. The reason I remember that is because he said he was in the shadows, and I always remembered his red eyes.
Yeah.
That's all you could see was his outline and the red eyes. Well, I mean, okay, going
Yeah.
back to, well, no, just like, look, Hickman just could not execute his plan or Marvel's plan. He
Execute.
did a poor job. The
I love it.
idea was sound. Like I said, I'm going to give that to him. But the X-Men were awful, and not awful like they were villains at this point, awful as in awful human beings, where we have a serious problem with people right now and in real life who are like this in real life, that are terrible people that love debauchery, love hurting and humiliating others, love to be superior over others. And see no problem with terrorist actions because it fits their narrative and their beliefs. That one's really frightening. Saying that, how the hell is a character like Nature Girl going to walk back from killing people? No, seriously, how is she going to walk that back? You can't. She killed an innocent man who didn't even own the shop. And I know this is Jerry Dugan, but this is while Hickman was writing. So she went in and stabbed a guy in the neck who just worked there. He didn't even own the friggin' store.
It shows a fundamental retarded lack of any geographical knowledge because she killed a guy in a fucking Las Vegas, the desert grocery store or whatever.
So that means somebody had to have brought that bag all the way to a coastline, bring it to the beach.
It's even more stupid than that. Remember, Krakoa was making instruments out of its own body, and they were having a peace, love, happiness, hippie bonfire. And a sea turtle washed up on shore, vomited up the plastic bag, and died.
Yeah.
And so Krakoa has this ability to have gates where they can open gateway, because, all of a sudden gateway's obsolete.
Yeah.
That gateways were opened in different parts of the world and only mutants could traverse for them. So she traversed to the Las Vegas one, went to the guy's the store,
just a courtesy clerk or whatever, or just a clerk in the store. Yeah.
She stabbed the clerk in the neck with a pair of scissors, and she brings along another mutant whose power is literally to be evil, to the point that Xavier is scared of this character because she is the epitome of evil. And then she mutates into a more warrior-like form. I'm talking about Nature Girl, and then proceeds to blow up and kill people at a refinery. Then she gets arrested, put in the pit, and then Krakoa and Cypher let her go and tell her to go rage their holy war against humanity for nature.
You missed a critical part.
Oh, that's right. Kat, you're right. The dog forgave her.
You forget that she asked a dog if it was the right thing to do, and the dog said yes.
Yeah.
That's some stellar writing.
Talk about not understanding dogs too.
The last time someone took advice from a dog, his name was David Berkowitz, and
didn't go well.
Yeah, he killed a lot of people.
Well, you know what? Writing a dog like that means that you must really not know much about dogs. Do you know who? I can't remember the author.
Your Honor, it's not my fault. The dog said it was okay.
Okay, we're going to DC for a minute. The way that Crypto is written, that's how you write a dog. Okay, because there was one issue of Superman that I read that was absolutely brilliant, and it was from Crypto's point of view. You know, all Crypto cared about? He loved his humans, and he was happy when he got to go play Frisbee in outer space with Superman and Green Lantern. And his thought bubbles were just like, happy, I'm happy, treats, happy. That's how a dog thinks. That's how you write a dog. No, the dog isn't like, oh my gosh, I hate humanity. Even though humanity is the reason I'm alive and I've been bred this way, you must take vengeance on humanity for all of us creatures on planet Earth.
It's like that Steve Buscemi thing where he's like, "Hello, fellow kids." It's like the dog cares about all animals across the world, even though probably bred to kill most of them.
Now watch me eat this cat.
Yeah. Must save animals.
And I don't know what happened to Nature Girl, but I know that
What a
that is
fucking dumb
another
name.
issue. Yeah, that was the point. There was a whole slew of X-Men characters that I believe, I'm not sure, don't quote me on this, people, that came from Grant Morrison or maybe later, that they had really dumb names because they'd like run out of names. Like you have Eyeball Boy, who he's literally got eyeballs all over his body. Yeah, and you have Nature Girl, who...
Is that Argus, or was it...
Mark Millar write this?
Maybe, I don't know.
With
There
characters
was a
like
whole...
Adam, Eve, and Rexplode, Eyeball Boy, Nature Girl.
Those weren't Mark Millar. That was
Oh, that wasn't.
The guy who wrote The Walking Dead, Kirkman.
Oh, was that? Okay, sorry. I
actually
why did Eyeball Boy? Why didn't they just call him something like Argus?
I don't know, because people can't think of cool names. Look, when somebody comes up with the call sign or code name Psylocke because of Psyche, but putting the lock with the E at the end to make her British as fuck, you've been actually thinking. I mean, I love that name because of that. That is an awesome code name.
Yeah.
Rogue. Rogue is a great name because not only is she a rogue, her powers go rogue. Colossus, Juggernaut. There's, you know what? I'm telling you right now, nobody recently does not know how to pick up a thesaurus. There is a character that Grant Morrison created that the girl is made out of gemstones and her call sign is bling with an exclamation point at the end.
I'm sorry, I'm not saying the exclamation point when I say her name from now on. I'm not gonna. You can't make me.
Yeah, she's not bling, she's bling.
Bling.
Yeah.
You gotta say it like that so the exclamation point comes out. I'm not doing that. And besides, Nature Girl. It's a girl with antlers on her fucking head, so it's actually Nature Them. Because that's not a girl. The girls don't have antlers most of the damn time. Some species,
she could have called herself Druid, and it would have been cool.
So much better.
Yeah. Or not even that. She could have called herself Nereid, because that was like, the crazy female chicks that were in tune with nature and Greek mythology.
Or Cybele.
Do you think that maybe Morrison was just phoning it in and saying, I'm getting money for this?
I think, number one, he was phoning it in, and number two, he was using X-Men as therapy because he was going through a bitter divorce because he hated his wife and just wanted to fuck his really not morally sound mistress. Because he says his mistress, or I'm sorry, his girlfriend, Emma Frost, was his girlfriend. That she was exactly like Emma Frost. I'm like, that's scary. But yeah, I mean, just... Hickman didn't pull it off. He is not a good writer. And I mean, we've been seeing this for a while with Marvel. And I do actually think Marvel really did think, because the idea sounded good, that they might have been able to put the X-Men back on top, because X-Men was already falling like hard. And it didn't. And so, I mean, so if that makes me sound like a crybaby, Felix Lopez 7908, fine.
Hey, wait.
Say what you want to say, but Krakoa revitalized and reinvigorated the X-Men franchise in a major way, bringing them back to the forefront of Marvel in popularity and sales.
That's right. I mean, they went from selling 6.8 million a month to roughly 70,000 by the end of...
Well,
Hickman's
here's
runs.
the thing. How did X-Men become back to the forefront of Marvel? Because by this point, the MCU was going on, and Avengers, Iron Man, Captain America, Guardians of the Galaxy were outselling X-Men because everybody was going and buying those books, because that was what the movies were. That's what was going on with the movies. Those books were doing better.
My question is, and I'd really like to know this, what do the other Felix Lopez's 7,907 other opinion about this be? Because I think that would be much more
let's just call him what he is, the bastard son of Vanilla Ice, okay?
All right.
Should have worked on him.
Butter pecan ice.
Butter pecan ice. Caramel ice. Almost caramelized.
Here's another thing too. The whole Krakoa event, they kept using the crossover names from the Claremont era for their stories. I remember there was an Inferno. I believe there was a Fall of the Mutants.
Yep. And the Inferno was ridiculous retarded.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds to me that Jonathan Hickman was just fan fictioning. Yes, I like Moose Cat. I was actually thinking maybe Bambi. But that's too nice. Moose is better.
Moose is better.
Basically fan fictioned a lot of Claremont stuff, but I've noticed that a lot of anything that Claremont wrote got fan fictioned by people that came afterwards. Some people tried to, fix it, but they couldn't. I mean, there was a friggin' okay, so I guess Old Man Logan and Wolverine were on the island together. There were two X-23s, an older one and a younger one.
Yes.
There was a young Cable and an old Cable. So, like, why? Why? So, I mean, if this was supposed to be the nexus for all mutants, then they should have had all the mutants from all the different realities on the island if that's what they were going with. But they only chose specific characters. Huh?
The problem with this stuff is you really can't break it down and analyze it because there's nothing to analyze. It's just shit. Seriously. I mean, I think that's the problem. I mean, remember back in the teens when there were all these channels they're solely dedicated to ripping on terrible, terrible books. I remember there was one called something like Adventures in Awful or something.
That was a good one.
That was one of my favorites.
Yep. The thing is those shows had something to work with because the losers were still at least trying to tell a story. But somewhere in the teens, they just gave up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, they had to hire people for their identity, not their talent.
Well,
they
it
were
wasn't
cheaper
just
that way,
hiring
too.
them for their identity. Marvel is notorious for screwing writers and artists. This is going to be a side tangent. I told Ishi about this earlier.
Well, go ahead. We can change it. I think we're all getting tired of ice pose, or we can talk about something else.
I think I made a good case in a short amount of time. I mean, if they, want to come at us again for what I said, I'll just go back to what I.
Yeah, they're
welcome.
It
was great material.
Please.
So Rob Liefeld posted, it was yesterday or the day before on Instagram, that Tom Brevoort finally admitted that I can't remember who the editor-in-chief was at the time frame, but changed all the names to all the books that Liefeld had created under the X banner so they wouldn't have to pay him residuals anymore. X Factor became X-Statix, Cable became Soldier X, and Deadpool became Agent X. In fact, I do remember when everybody thought, this new Agent X book came out, but the character talked and acted like Deadpool. And I believe it ended up being they made a whole new character called Phantom X, which, okay, whatever, yeah. And there was this whole convoluted storyline about how Wolverine wasn't Weapon X. The X stood for 10, and there were like 9 weapons before him. Long story short.
Yeah.
Liefeld was proving that Marvel really didn't want to give up the cash. And I was telling Ishi, this explains so much more why they created Image. Like, yes, I understood why they created Image, and also proved that while they are great artists, they do not know how to tell a story because they all just tried to do their own version of X-Men. But hold on, sorry, I got an alarm going off. Yeah, Liefeld made them millions. I remember, I think it was his X-Force sold 1 million copies. It was like X-Force #1. That was a huge deal. And they screwed him over by renaming his books because they didn't want to give up the money. And Marvel's been notorious for this for decades, and it got really bad in the 90s. I mean, honestly, Chris Claremont should be a multi-millionaire for how much he created and put into the X books. Frank Miller should also be a multi-millionaire for his creation of Elektra. Elektra is a great anti-hero character.
Well, his money probably went up his nose, so
that is true.
He wouldn't know if he was a millionaire. His dealer's a millionaire.
So yeah, I mean, Marvel has been mismanaged for a long time, and I know that they will never admit it, but Jim Shooter was one of the best things to happen to Marvel.
To comics.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And I mean, when he left Marvel and created Valiant, the original Valiant stories are pretty rad.
I never read them, and I wish I had.
They're good. My husband has some of them. I was really excited when they brought Valiant back until I saw what they did with the new Valiant, and I was like, yeah, no, this is woke. I mean, all of a sudden, Faith is a morbidly obese character that I don't know what her power is, but her name is Zephyr, so I'm guessing like she can make herself light as air.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
makes
can
herself
fly.
float, and she can hook black guys. She just reels them in by the netful.
Well, it wasn't just black guys. She was getting hot young studs that were like all muscly to fall over her, and I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's stupid.
I'm just making fun of her. I'm not trying to be racist or anything, guys.
Oh, they ruined Livewire as well.
Oh
That's
yeah.
Well, as soon as I saw what they did to Faith, and then the weird rewriting of Exo Manowar, I was also like, and I just quietly backed out. You know, like when you see Homer Simpson back into the shrubbery.
Yeah.
I kind of
I
did that at Comic-Con.
kind of know who
okay.
did that, but
So
I
yeah,
don't
it
want
was
to.
Jim Shooter created Valiant, and Valiant did really good in the 90s for a while. But, then like the bubble burst pretty much
Yeah.
because of the collectors, and it really destroyed a lot of indie companies. Anyway, the point I was making is, like I said, Marvel has been mismanaging since the 90s. They really have. Bob Harris came in, and instead of listening to the people that have been there forever, that have been making their comic books number one for years, he listened to the upstart, up and coming artists that had no writing skills whatsoever and let them take the two biggest books and run with it. I'm so happy that
Yeah.
Alan Davis was able to keep Excalibur. And I think Harris didn't care about Excalibur. But, after Claremont left, Alan Davis was still there, and he was able to hold on to it for a little while.
Yeah, the only one of that group that I could say really right that left Marvel, and I don't count Sam Keith among them. He was his own thing, and I think he was working for DC. But that group that left Marvel to start Image, the only one I could say actually could write was McFarlane.
McFarlane he was Stan Lee's protege, and for all of Stan Lee's faults, he was a spectacular businessman, and he gave all of that to McFarlane. And when the bubble burst, what did McFarlane do? Created McFarlane Toys. And he's made more money off that than he has Spawn.
But yeah, he was the only one who actually could write a decent story. I'm not saying they were incredible, but they were good. They were entertaining. He was a very, very good artist.
Oh, yeah.
And he kept his deadlines. Although the best of the best there was Sam Keith, but he wasn't writing he was writing an oddball book. The Max wasn't for everybody.
No.
And Sam Keith is amazing, but that's a story for another time.
The Max was for the same people who read X-Men, Daredevil, the darker books. Oh, I did not know that, Damien, but that makes sense. The reason Valiant died is because Image, they did that crossover Image with Deathmate, and Valiant got their half done on time, but Image, that was another reason I stopped reading Image. I got tired of waiting 3 to 4 months for the next book to drop.
Yeah, that was annoying.
I remember when I waited, I'm not joking, 7 months for a Witchblade book to come out.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I don't care. I'll get it in trade paperback in a couple of years.
I forget if it was Image or not, but there was a book I was following back in the day called Crimson. Did you ever read that?
No.
Okay, yeah. When it started becoming 6 6 months between issues, that's when I just like quit my little saver.
Just can't bother to care.
Yeah, if I have to go back 6 months to read what happened last time so I can figure out what the fuck they're talking about this time, go fuck yourself. The art was beautiful. I love vampire stories, but it wasn't worth my time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times Jim Lee was late on Wildcats, and like, same thing with
Constantly.
Liefeld. Yeah,
That
like the
me.
reason Wildcats could never be as good as it could have possibly been was because you had to wait months between issues. I mean, it just also showed the entitlement of like a good chunk of the guys.
I'm going to be honest. Jim Lee's writing wasn't that great either.
No, he had a good concept. He blew his wad and he didn't know where to go with it. He had no clue. Then it was like Wildcats. They do everything now. They all sorts of superhero now, even though they're supposed to fight aliens called Damonites. But
right.
Yeah, and that storyline got
Secret
wrapped up
War.
quickly. The Damonite storyline is
Very
kind of shocking.
Yeah, because what was it like? I want to say 3 years later, they tried to sort of revive Wildcats with Mr. Majestic being the leader of it, and they were fighting a new kind of alien. I forget what they're called, but they were so powerful they even easily outpowered Superman. I mean, Mr. Majestic.
Well,
that lasted like 6 issues.
The Mr. Majestic team also had Ladytron and Savant, who was Zealot's daughter, but Zealot didn't want her because she wanted to be a warrior, so Zealot's mom adopted her as her sister instead. Yeah, Zealot is a horrible human being. Zealot to me is kind of like Emma Frost.
Yeah, she's Emma Frost with swords.
Horrible character, not a good person at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wildcats could have been something.
It could have.
But also, I think Lee was focusing more on Gen 13 than Wildcats at that point.
I felt like he was getting ready to sell to DC more than he was doing anything else. Like he was making his profile. Thank you. Profile. Profile.
Portfolio. Right.
Yes. He's just making something that he could sell. He didn't want to keep making anything.
Yeah, no, I think his idea was to always eventually go to DC. I mean, he pulled a brilliant move. He pulled a good coup. I will sell Wildstorm to you in all of its characters if you let me be co-editor in chief. And from there, he was able to knock everybody off their pedestal and take DC over. I mean, very smart move, but it also shows what a not a good person he is, because he tried to do the same thing at Marvel, but Marvel was like, no, we're not going to give you shit, because he went behind Claremont's back and had him knocked off the main X-Men book. Not only did Claremont get knocked off that book, Jim Lee got his own book. Liefeld was able to take X-Force. I don't remember who became the writer for X Factor. I just know that Jay Lee ended up becoming the artist. But yeah, I mean, he was maneuvering and doing the same thing at Marvel, but wasn't able to do it, and was successful at doing it at DC Comics. I mean, he got Jeff Johns removed, and now he was the chief entertainment officer for the DCEU. He became the editor in chief. Got Dan DiDio out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sacred Geek. Yes, he was a great businessman, but he is a horrible person the way he did it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, and honestly, I am going to say this. I would rather read Liefeld and Jim Lee stuff over Hickman stuff any day.
Yeah, can't argue that.
Yeah, I will gladly read about Omega Red and Cable and Strife and the Mutant Liberation Front and the Hand and Magneto being Magneto and his acolytes. Oh, absolutely. In a heartbeat, I would be sitting down reading those with a smile on my face compared to Jonathan Hickman's stuff.
Well, look, you may think that, okay? You may think that, but remember, okay?
What Jonathan Hickman did is legendary.
He's got a point.
Actually, no, I'm going to say what Hickman did was legendary. I think it's going to go down as one of the worst X-Men runs ever, and that's legendary.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, it betrayed everything. It betrayed the concept of the book, the core of the storyline, the core of the characters, everything. It was a complete and utter betrayal of every aspect of it. He was the Ryan Johnston of the X-Men universe, okay? Hickman was Ryan Johnston for Marvel.
He really was. Yeah. 'Cause you can tell that he did not do enough research. Now, granted, there's a ton of history. There really is. But also, the comic book companies are known for having huge folders that are Bibles that they have available for other for other writers to come in. Here's a good example. Even though she completely did not pay attention to the Bible at DC for the New Gods, Cecil Castellucci was given the New Gods Bible from Dan DiDio so she could write her New Gods book.
And she didn't really
Obviously, she didn't
bother.
read it. But yeah.
Yeah, she did a shit job on that book.
Yeah, she literally went to Dan DiDio and said that she needed to write a Me Too book and she needed to write her own Handmaid's Tale. And
with the
he
New
gave
Gods.
her New Gods.
Right.
And oh my God, you could tell that she did, because Dan DiDio and her both said that he gave her the New Gods Bible, like the stuff all the way from Kirby.
Yeah.
And she did not read it. She read like the blurbs of who the people were and then went off. And I'm sorry, having Granny Goodness feel that she needed to be coerced into bed with Darkseid. Darkseid's the epitome of Satan. He has been like, sex doesn't mean shit to him. He is too busy trying to take over the universe and do the anti-life equation.
Yeah.
No, let's approach this from a more reasonable standpoint, Janelle. Cecil Castellucci, woke lesbian that she is, related to the child molester and wanted to portray the child molesting Granny Goodness
as a victim.
Yep.
That was the character she resonated with. The murderous child molester.
Let's say Darkseid ever did throw Granny Goodness a bone. She would worship at the bottom of the volcano that is his cock for the rest of her life. She wouldn't be hurt about it. Oh, he doesn't love me. Guess the fuck what? You knew it beforehand.
Why are we supposed to feel bad for psychopaths?
Yeah, I'm like, why am I supposed to feel? Tom King did the same thing when he wrote the stupid Mr. Miracle series, because all of a sudden all the Furies show up on Earth as Barda's giving birth, and instead of attacking and killing them while Mr. Miracle and Big Barda are at their most vulnerable, they're sitting there and in the delivery waiting room and are like, oh, like, I should be killing you right now, but it's kind of cool. Barda's having a baby. You better not be, bad to Barda because I love her. She's our friend. This is Bernadette we're talking about. Not only that, at one point, the Mr. Miracle and Big Barda. Bye. Sorry, Chris is saying goodbye to me. Big Barda and Mr. Miracle go to visit Granny Goodness on Apocalypse, and she gives them hugs and kisses and then tells Scott-Free that he's not eating enough.
Check, please.
Well, again, I repeat, when you hear Tom King lie about his job in the CIA and lie about his wife he's supposedly married to, and lies about sharing the scripting of the bachelor party issue of Batman with his non-existent daughter. Now, it's going to be funny if he pops up and actually proves me wrong and that he actually does have a wife and a daughter, because then it makes him a worse person. But, if you recall that issue, the bachelorette party, where
that issue was gross,
where Lois Lane and Catwoman are doing drugs and fucking Superman droids. And he said he shared this with his 12-year-old daughter.
While sitting in a jacuzzi filled with alien aphrodisiac that makes them beyond horny.
Right. And he said that he, passed this by, he got his 12-year-old to look at it to make sure it read true and resonated.
See, that's gross because that issue was gross. I mean,
I think he's making the shit up, just like I don't think he really was in the CIA. I just think he's full of shit, and that all of this is made up. And for his sake, he better be lying.
He has that picture of him with a full head of hair holding a gun in the Middle East.
Oh yeah, well,
I heard, I don't know if this is true, but his wife's boyfriend said that it was true that Tom King does have a wife. He does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, Hickman did the X-Men dirty. You know, come at me if you want to. I'm going to stand by what I said. Yes, I've calmed down because what was written was just so infuriating. But once the anger kind of dissipated and I saw what was written, like I said, either a bot, a troll, or a moron, or all three rolled into one. Because how can you read the entire 63 from 63 and say that Hickman's run is legendary? Because it's not. It's going to be legendary for being really bad.
When did he take the time to write that down? I mean, whose lips were on Hickman's cock when his weren't? I mean, isn't he afraid of losing his place in line? For fuck's sake.
I mean, if we're going to go that, Hickman's work is legendary, then Bendis's work would be even more legendary. So would Mariko Tamaki. So would, was it Jason Aaron?
So
well, I'm looking at this guy's account right now, and apparently he's a big fan of Celine Dion and No Doubt and Ariana Grande and Whitney Houston.
News.
And he subscribes to a whole bunch of, he's part of the Sith list. He reads, he listens to Comic Book Herald, which apparently is a channel. Now, this looks like a real person, guys. Oh, he's a fan of Degrassi High.
Oh, God.
Oh.
Ew.
I'm just saying, it's overrated by like 1,000,000%.
Oh, Degrassi High. The only reason that really became popular in the U.S. is because Kevin Smith was a giant fan and grew up on the original The Kids of Degrassi Street, which it's a Canadian show, so.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think Felix here might actually really be that much of an embarrassing individual. I mean, it would be nice to think that he's just a bot. I mean, because otherwise that means this person exists. And I mean, does the world really need another sad person like this?
Cell phones gotta self-own.
I just, yeah, it's mind-blowing. And, I've read from 63 as well. When I say I'm not in 63, but I've read the issues, I've read the very first X-Men issue. It's cheesy as hell. It's definitely comics from the 60s.
I own the very first one with Juggernaut in it, where they had to have the Human Torch save them.
Look, I just think the dude's full of shit. He's obviously not read all these books. Okay, he made such a basic bitch mistake that it was obvious he's talking out of his ass.
Because if he actually read all that stuff, then he would be talking about how Jim Steranko's small run on X-Men, when he was the one designing Polaris's outfit back when she was still was it Magnetrix?
I forget.
So when she wore the all green outfit, yeah, she called herself Magnetrix, I think.
I think it's something like that.
Like, I don't remember if it was Steranko or before him, but she was born with green hair. She always had to dye it brown to hide her mutation.
Mm-hmm.
But
and that's covered in the X-Men: The Hidden Years by John Byrne too.
Oh, it is?
It's very cool, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because everybody forgets that when Lorna first showed up, she was brunette. It turned out she was dyeing her hair because she had green hair as a mutation, which I thought was brilliant. And I can't remember, maybe it was Byrne that actually, because I know that she changed her name to Polaris when she got taken by the Shi'ar and was put in the different outfit that was purple and green.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how she got her name Polaris. So,
The very
but
very Chiara outfit.
yes, actually, I like that outfit, and I wish they would put her back in that outfit. It doesn't need to be a 70s with the disco collar,
Right.
but still, like,
Well,
that's what I would put her back in.
didn't they put her back into it after Havoc left her at the at the altar?
They put her, they put her in a more updated version of it,
Oh,
but
okay.
it didn't look good. Like, I
No.
don't know how to explain it. Like, it was all leather and it had garters on it.
Yeah, the updated version of it looked like I hate myself.
Yeah, I think they were trying to make her look like, she's mentally unstable, so let's go with looking kind of like a
Yeah.
dominatrix, but it didn't fly very well.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would change that outfit up a bit, or I would put her in her original X Factor uniform because that was
It
actually a pretty cool uniform too.
it kind of reminded me of when after Banshee died, they brought him back, but this time he was a bad guy and he was leading the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. It was like
Yeah,
fit in character name into this slot to do whatever the fuck we want. Doesn't matter what they did in the past.
Well, see, what we're running into is the problem that these stories have no end. And that ongoing forever myth can only exist in certain ways. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I mean, the DCU can get away with it a little easier for the sheer fact that they're mythological in nature. So it doesn't stand out as much. But for the X-Men, it's really awkward that you have these what was it, the original team from the 60s. Still how old is Scott? Is he still 35?
No, he's still like they de-aged him again. He's gonna be young again. It's really weird.
And
Uh,
really, I
Almost
am
10
all
years
for
ago, Beast was had his 30th birthday, so he's probably like 35.
and
Oh,
I
I was
am
gonna Beast
all
was
for.
announced.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say Beast actually they said that he was 30 and like 92.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he was the oldest of the original 5, so
Yeah.
Now, I am absolutely all for characters, having a beginning, middle, and end and dying, or having, you reset the universe over and over again and tell the stories differently. We're running into all this continuity shit partially because they can't let it go.
I think they are. I think one of it is they know this is a moneymaker, but two, I think a lot of them are afraid to make new characters because they don't want to get the criticism, so they'll just take existing characters.
hold on, I
Yeah,
gotta argue that with you just real quick. Nature Girl is the most awesome new character in decades. If you don't agree, you're a bigot. Okay?
Yeah, you don't like Moose Girl.
You like Moose Girl? Come on now.
I honestly, the original 5 should be retired and in their 60s. The whole thing when they were running out of when the continuity was catching up to them, they were able to make Professor Xavier younger again because they cloned a body that was supposed to work for him
Mm-hmm.
and then put his brain in it, so that's why he was younger looking. But then okay, maybe you guys can help me with this. I vaguely remember this story and I remember it caused some issues, but somehow Moira Mctaggert was able to turn Magneto into a toddler and then age him up into his 20s. And that's how they answered the question of why he was still young in the 90s.
Yeah. It was part of the reason why he took over for Xavier as the head of the school, because they had kind of not mind wiped him, but rebirthed him or whatever you want to say, and then kind of like, no, no, we live in peace with the humans, and he kind of went,
No,
okay, till his memories started coming back.
Well, yeah, because when Jim Lee took over, all of a sudden, out of the blue, Moira was having nightmares about turning Magneto into a kid and saying that it was morally wrong that she did it. And then she left Banshee and the X-Men for a while.
It kind of was.
No, it was more, but I mean, it was so out of the blue, especially if you hadn't read that yet.
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck speaking of Moira Mctaggert, could this human scientist get a hold of Magneto and DH him?
I didn't read that part. I just remember the repercussion.
You look at how the Japanese have handled it. The stories have a beginning, middle, and end. And if the character is popular, they'll do a retelling. I mean, how many times do we have Cutie Honey? Various versions, various retellings of the story. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But it doesn't matter because nothing's been vandalized.
That's something I do like with what the Japanese have done. I've noticed that people, when the mangakas have decided to just keep going, their stories become filler. I know there's a lot of people out there that like One Piece, but I find One Piece to be boring as hell. I only like the Netflix show, and it's still
Okay, it's not
ongoing.
just me. It's not just me then. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm not alone.
That story should have ended like 10 years ago. Same thing with Fairy Tail. I was a huge fan of Fairy Tail when it first came out, and the story just kept going. I'm like, this story should have ended ages ago. I did find out later on that the mangaka got caught up in a contract where he was forced to keep writing the story, so he kind of got screwed. He had a specific ending for Fairy Tail as well, but Bleach started getting boring. Don't get me started on Naruto. That is one of the most boring, convoluted, like it has become boring and convoluted. The story has dragged on too long, and now it's called Naruto, but it's about his son Boruto. Like, dude, no, just let the story end.
But wait. Now it's about his son. It's no longer about him. Time has passed.
Yes.
And it's like Judge Dredd is aging in real time, for instance.
Yeah.
Yes. That is okay, but I also think that if you're going to focus on Naruto's son Boruto, you need to remove all of the adults. It needs to be about Naruto and his friends and his sister. Maybe have the adults show up now and then, but also it's really boring. I couldn't get into it. Berserk is the only one that I can say that it's okay for it to be ongoing as it is, because Miria took so long to draw out the panels that you had to wait like months, sometimes a year in between a chapter. And sadly, he died, but luckily his apprentices knew what's supposed to happen and knew his art style. So, yeah, we're going to get that. But yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I don't like about American comics. Honestly, all these people that we see on the screen right now, should be between the ages of 40 and 70 and retired or teaching.
Looking at you, Wolverine.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, Betsy should be in Britain, maybe doing some consulting work for MI13.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, she would be perfect for that.
You could have an excuse for Psylocke continuing to stay young. You actually could. And that was because the new body they'd given her was created from genetic engineering and alchemy. You could make some shit up with that. They didn't want their...
she could stay and not age.
They didn't want their psychic ninja to die, or their investment dying on them. Very easy explanation. But yeah, most of these characters should probably be really old or dead. I mean, even when Claremont was writing, he even had Wolverine beginning to feel his age. I loved that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he would get melancholy about it, and he'd realize I'm on a team with a bunch of teenagers and 20-year-olds, and I am so old, I am out of place. I thought that's what was so amazing about his character too, is he really did take some of the X-Men characters under his wing. And even though Storm was in her 20s, she was an old soul and totally could be on the same mental level as Logan. No problem. And that's why I think they got along so well.
Yeah.
With okay, you want to keep Storm around. Give us a reason. We could go with the goddess explanation. Well, guess she really is.
Or she could be aging, but she's the new headmistress of the school.
Yeah.
And she's grooming the next, leader of the X-Men.
Yeah,
which should be Cannonball.
Yeah, no, right now Cannonball should be in Cyclops' place.
Yes.
He really should be. I mean, honestly, all
And
the
Cyclops
original
should be in a wheelchair.
He should be in Alaska enjoying his retirement, pulling in 4-foot-long salmon and shit.
No, honestly, my happy ending for Scott and Jean would be they retired to Alaska. Their kids from other timelines and mothers come to visit them. Cable should be dead at this point because he was already an old man when he showed up. And, you know, like you could focus on that, not so much Jean, but Scott, you know, his son passed away, all the things that his son went through. But in the end, he got some time with him. And even though Rachel is his daughter from another timeline, him and Jean are going to make sure that she still has family. Because that was one of the most brilliant things that I think the writers all dropped the ball on for anything.
Okay, I got a question.
They should have focused on the Summers family and let them be their own, like, family. Yeah. Really. It would have been great. I would have loved to have seen Jean and Rachel going out and doing fun things as a mother and daughter. And even though Jean didn't feel like her mother, she still felt like a sister to her. You know, like we missed out on that. It would have been great.
Marry off Rogue and Gambit and have them retire peacefully or whatever. Colossus and Kitty retire peacefully. Let's get some new X-Men. Let's get the New Mutants, you know, up to their next level.
I actually liked how in X-Men the end, how Claremont had Rogue and Gambit retire. They retired from the X-Men, but they still did the Black Ops where they were stealing shit for them for fun.
Okay, I do have a question about Rogue. I have a question about Rogue. If we're going to go with the question of, well, how do we handle aging?
Yeah.
On the Marvel database, it currently says her ability is life force draining.
Yeah, that's how it's partially been described too. It's not just the mind; it's the powers in the life force too.
Yeah, I was gonna say that she's been described as an energy vampire, not a life force vampire, but an energy vampire. So
then you've got another excuse why she's young, right?
Well, no, she kind of gives up. I don't know if it goes back to the person she took the life force from, but she does give it up eventually.
Yeah, Ironcast Knight is correct. It's a polite way of saying Rogue's superpower is she's a succubus. She is. She doesn't do it through sex, but she does it through touch. And how's the way she touches people when she steals it? She kisses them. So I think she's more of an energy vampire, not a life force vampire. So she would age.
Yeah, I don't think it affects her
it says here on the Marvel website now that she's immortal. So.
Oh, yeah, really?
So nothing matters.
Maybe she's an external. She could be.
I thought they were all immortal at that point because of the whole Krakoa arc. They took away death was no problem for them. That's why they were so reckless and cruel. Because they would take the dumbass character gold balls. His mutant power was to make gold balls. Well, then they found out that those gold balls were actually just unhatched eggs that if they injected the DNA of the X-Men into it and like had the telepaths help create it's so fucking that's the other thing about Hickman's run. Then we can go back to what we're talking about. His run was convoluted.
Good night,
very
everybody.
Convoluted. There were characters that showed up that were supposed to be mutates that had different powers of X-Men all merged into one person. I don't know what happened to those characters, but they were made a big deal. Like one of them was called Rasputin, and she looked like a female version of Colossus. And but she also had Magic's soul sword.
Because of course, why not?
Yeah. So I mean,
you don't have to have any sort of magical attunement to have magic soul sword. You just pick it up off the ground. It's yours now. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. And here's another character that we're looking at. Stevie Hunter can be retired but still own a dance studio.
Mm-hmm.
And she
maybe Kitty works for her.
Yeah, well, actually, I think Kitty would be more of Claremont was correct when they had her run as the mayor of Chicago and she won. I could see Kitty getting into politics, or I could see Kitty working for a computer company, you know, like Silicon Valley style, but not like the assholes in Silicon Valley. Because she was a computer whiz. People forget about that too. She was a friggin' computer whiz.
Yeah, at 14, she could understand Reed Richards when he was talking all his science jargon.
Yeah, I mean,
She was the little girl in Jurassic Park event, essentially.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good analogy.
Mommy.
But
yeah, like you could have, and not, so Stevie Hunter retires, but Dazzler may be retired from super heroics, but she could be the one teaching.
There you go.
Yeah, I could see a lot of the X-Men no longer X-Men and just being teachers. Like, Rogue would be a great teacher for kids who have powers that are so hard to control, and she's finally got them under control, and she can teach them how to do it. Gambit can be the one that can teach the kids how to do stealth and subterfuge. And not only that, he also, part of his power set, which people forget, is he had natural agility. So like him and Kurt could be teaching, athletics class. Beast either would be working for the government or even working, he could have gone back and retired and worked with the Avengers or Reed Richards, but I would see him in the scientific field. Colossus would go back home to Russia.
Or teach
he would
art
settle
class.
down and teach art in Russia. Like I could see Colossus is just gone. I know a lot of people love his character, but I think that's going to be his end. That should have been his ending.
Yeah.
Bobby also should have left and settled down with Opal Tanaka, and they had a child. So yeah, like all these characters I'm seeing, either half of them could stay, some of them could actually still be, active members of the X-Men, but most of the characters we're seeing on the screen right now should either be retired and living a good family life, or they're the new teachers, and that's okay. I think Storm would make a fantastic headmistress.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Claremont's plan, is to age them in real time and the older ones would become mentors?
As the Phoenix Saga had ended and Scott had married Maddie, he was in the process of phasing them out. It was going on as that's why Storm was the new leader of the X-Men. That's why the New Mutants were being trained like the original 5. Now you have, they were originally 5, and then
They were
added
supposed to
Magma and
eventually
they became
become the
6.
X-Men, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were going to be the new X-Men, and Cannonball was going to be the new Cyclops. And it was going to be a pretty cool team. You had the original 5, then you added in Magma, you added in Magic, and then you added in Cypher and Warlock. What a solid team. Truly, what a solid team.
So
and
fun.
Each one of them, their mutant powers, in my opinion, were even more creative than the X-Men at that point. I mean, Claremont had really thought it through. Karma's ability to possess people, Danny Moonstar's ability to take your worst fear and make it real. Magma, she literally controlled magma. She could turn herself into living magma. She could make volcanoes. Cannonball was literally a cannonball that was invulnerable when he was in that state. I like the fact that Sunspot absorbed solar energy to look like a sunspot, but instead of, shooting it back out as an energy, it gave him super strength. And then you had a werewolf.
Well, later on, they did give him the ability to shoot the sun energy back out and fly. So, I mean, he evolved too, it was fun. It was cool.
Yeah. But and then, having Cypher, the whole reason Cypher came to the New Mutants is because they could not understand Warlock. And of course, there had to be somebody out there that had a mutant power that could understand any language they came across, including alien. And yeah, Cypher was a whiny bitch, but him and Warlock balanced each other out. And I love the fact that Warlock would put himself around Cypher as armor.
That was a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, no, they were really on track, and Shooter should not have brought Jean back. Honestly, I think that in his flippancy of saying kill the bitch, he had regret and couldn't voice it. And then just was like, no, you're bringing her back.
Mistakes were made.
Well, I think I've endured enough pain today. Remember all that, current comics may suck and may be depressing and amoral and piles of shit. But, I write graphic novels and have quite a few available on Amazon, link in the description. And you'll find that they have all the things that you used to like about comics. And they're not woke. Or if you care about pop culture and the Amazon archetype, I've written Boobs of Steel, a very thorough and complete exploration of the Amazonian archetype throughout history and in pop culture and the current culture war. I don't know what else to say. I guess the other thing we can say before we go, and you two get to give your goodbyes. I really do want to thank Vanilla Ice's son here for giving us a good 45 minutes of content, and I also want to thank little baby Ben.
What Jonathan
Shapiro
Hickman did is legendary. What Jonathan Hickman did is legendary.
For reading that wonderful complaint.
Ben, calm down, please. It's too much.
Yes, I want to thank Felix Lopez for writing that, because yes, at first I was very immature and name calling, but then like I was able to calm down and you let me actually say my piece about why I think Hickman had a good idea but could not get it off the ground, and his writing is very convoluted, and it would have been nice to see him be able to do that, but he couldn't. And so thank you for letting me argue my side of
Hickman
the
just didn't have
argument.
the stones to tell the story.
I don't even think it was he didn't have the stones to tell the story. I think he had a good plot. He's just a shit writer.
He didn't have the brains.
He couldn't execute it. He couldn't. Like I said, the idea was sound. I will give him that. The idea was sound. The execution could not happen. Not only that, I will also say in a little bit of Hickman's defense, the characters had been so warped from who they originally were. You weren't going to get the X-Men that we remembered. Thanks, Bendis.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said at the beginning, the very core and ethos of the characters, and the story itself, the very concept of the X-Men had been so corrupted and vandalized, there was nothing left anyway.
No, I mean, he could have just made whole new characters, made a whole new original storyline, and it would have been fine. Yeah, you didn't need to use the X-Men characters. I mean, it just proved the point that the X-Men characters are no longer the X-Men characters that we remember. At least when Claremont had it, they were still the same characters, but yeah.
Well, they changed, they developed, they evolved as people under Claremont. And as I said, and I will keep saying, they were a metaphor for humanity being able to rise above our differences and cultural differences and live one side by side, or at least that battle. And they were morality tales. And in the hands of Hickman, they have been flipped around to basically racial supremacists. And they've turned into a bunch of debaucherous, sadistic, molesty degenerates.
Yeah,
what's left?
The fact that it's okay to have unprotected sex because you want to, make the mutant race grow, but it's also okay to abandon the baby that you made because you don't want to be a parent. How is that heroic? No, seriously, how is that heroic? And using the whole thing, that we can't have abortions. That's what they allude to. They or maybe they can have abortions. I don't know. But the fact that people it was, the encouragement of unprotected sex and then just abandoning your infant after you have it. So you're going to have like whole generations growing up on Krakoa not knowing who their parents were. And also knowing that they were not loved or wanted. They were just bred because they were told to.
Well, it takes a village. Come on now. Let's be fair.
Yeah, you know who said that? Hitler said that.
Parents. Yeah.
No, or actually, no, not Hitler. Marx. Marx said that. Hillary Clinton pulled that directly from Das Kapital.
Oh, it takes a village?
Yeah, she pulled that directly from Marx.
Just remember, everybody, Hickman's run was legendary. Like the Leprechaun movies were legendary.
No, those are watchable.
Those are actually good.
I mean,
they're B and C tier good, but they're fun.
Yeah, they don't make you want to claw your eyes out. All right, well, thank you for joining us, everyone. Join us again next week for another episode of Generation X-Men, and hopefully we've offended somebody out there so we can have more hate mail to respond to. Or you know what, if you want to, maybe you can fake hate mail and you just come up with something really outlandish. I want you all to go into the comments and make the most bizarre, outlandish complaints you can, okay?
Hey, Ice Jr., write us back, okay, buddy? Love ya.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Night.